Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. My name's Connor Williams, and we're back with another one of our 24/7 news report videos. As always, we start with the headline news, and the headline news is that Everton are poised to make a bid to sign Ivan Toney in January. The Blues have had a positive response when sounding out Toney's representatives, and Toney is ready to leave Saudi Arabia. Tottenham and West Ham are also interested. That's come via Mirror Football. Yeah, interesting one, Ivan Toney. We did a poll on the Toffee Blues Twitter account, well, X account, whatever you want to call it, which you can, if you're not following us on X, go down in the description. I'm sure it'll be there. And 1,328 of you voted. A resounding 84% of you said, yep, happy with Toney. 7.4% said, I don't know. And then 8.7% said no. It's an interesting one, this. I'm actually in the minority. Listen, his goal-scoring record in Saudi Arabia is really, really good. I can't dispute that. 44 games last season and 30 goals in all competitions. That's fantastic. There's no denying that. And then this season, he is currently on 15 games and 11 goals, 2 assists. Again, fantastic. My only caveat to that is that firstly, it is Saudi Arabia. Bar the few huge signings that they have, although aging, but huge signings in a lot of cases. The rest of them, aren't at the highest standard like the Premier League is. Even some of the players who are big names are probably past Premier League ability now. They're just big names, marquee signings. So you have to, in the context of those goals per game, remember that firstly. Secondly, so there's always that question mark. I know we were linked with Mitrovic a couple of seasons ago, and I said the same thing. I'm not too sure because he's been playing in Saudi Arabia. I don't know how well he'll translate back to the Premier League, where physicality is so tough. Look at the likes of Florian Wirtz at Liverpool. These players who come from abroad. Barry could be an example of that if you wanted to. Beto from Udinese, who come from a different league, come to the Premier League, and they struggle. And this is players, I've just picked players who are coming from the top 4 European leagues. I don't want to be disrespectful to the Saudi Arabian league, but that league is not anywhere near as good of a quality overall as the top 4 European leagues, in my opinion, which is England, Spain, Germany, Italy, and 5 because France. So there is that caveat. Obviously, Ivan Toney has played Premier League football before for Brentford, and his goal scoring record at Brentford was very good. The only season that you could argue it wasn't very good was his season before he went, where he got 4 goals in 17 appearances. Which comes on to my other worry is, if I remember rightly, I did not handle leaving very well. He was putting stuff on his socials that upset their fans. He's going to come with big wages as well attached because he's been, paid a lot of money over there. I don't know if any club will be willing to pay, West Ham or Tottenham included, will be willing to pay what he got there. So he'd probably have to take a little bit of a pay cut, but I don't know if it's a massive one. Obviously, this, I don't know how much of a pay cut he's prepared to take, though. I can't imagine it being a massive one. Obviously, this is a World Cup season, so that might be, and that will probably be his reasoning a little bit as well, that, if he can come back, get going in the Premier League, it gives Thomas Tuchel, a tough decision. We're seeing Danny Welbeck, people asking, should Welbeck be in the England squad? And then I watched Stick to Football and they mentioned it, and then they said, what about Toney? What about, I think it was Ollie Watkins? And they were like, well, Welbeck's outperforming Watkins in the Premier League, and, Ivan Toney's in the Saudi League. So they were almost like, so not him. So maybe that's a little bit of it. If he can come back in the Premier League and he gets, finishes the season strong, Thomas Tuchel's got a headache then, hasn't he, on who to take as that back, the third striker. So I can see why he wants to come back, and I think he'd suit as well. If this is the Ivan Toney that left the Premier League, he would suit us. I'm not disagreeing with that. I just personally don't think he handled his exit as great as he could have done. Personally, that's my opinion. In terms of football ability, though, which is what I think all of you really care about deep down, Yeah, great player when he was at Brentford. Really, really solid player. Would suit us down to the ground. Is he gonna be able to get up to that standard again though after playing a year and a half in Saudi Arabia? Who knows? That's for David Moyes and the team to discuss. My only other big caveat is that he's going to be on big wages, so it depends on what the deal is. Is it a loan with an option to buy? Will it be a permanent deal? Are we going to be able to offer him as much money as Tottenham are going to offer him? Who knows? Who knows? It's a tough one. He's not our only option. Obviously, there's that lad playing in Denmark, De Gea, I think it is, that we're linked with and we've been scouting. And this nicely follows me on to our next bit of news as well, which is that Everton are prioritising a new striker in January. They want a striker with a different profile to Beto and Barry. Ivan Toney and Joshua Zirski are high on their list of targets. That's come from Rob Dorsett at Sky Sports. Interesting. Obviously, Beto's profile is very tall, likes better if the ball's played in front of him to run onto that. So, yeah, I'd argue maybe these two aren't, that type of player. Thierry Barry, though, has shown signs of great hold-up play. I think he just needs to add goals to his game. So I don't think Ivan Toney or Josh Rosicky are that far off. They're physical strikers. They're very big lads. Toney can hold up the ball very well. He can also get goals. I'd say what the difference is that one is that Ivan Toney has a record of scoring goals and has a very good record, like I've just mentioned. So that's the main one. If you're looking at the different profile, he's a goal scorer, which is what you want from your striker. Zerski, I can't lie. I'm not seeing a lot of him since he's been at United, so I'm not gonna, I can't really say about his profiling. But yeah, so it's just interesting. I mean, Thierry Barry, I think, deserves time and patience. I think if we got, and I'm a bit cautious on Zerski because, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of him where he's bagging goals. So I could see that why we're prioritizing Toney maybe more. If Toney came in and I was wrong in what I previously said, and he does get these goals and he really impresses, Thierry Barry's a great backup to that's really good. We've got a goal scorer, and then we've got someone we can chuck on. When when the game's almost done, Toney's got a couple of goals. Chuck on Barry, let Barry get some experience, let him grow into the team instead of just throwing him in there, going 45 minutes. That's it, you're done. I think that would help him progress as well. So I can see why we're after a new striker. I personally think we need to get a right back as well, but I can see why we're prioritising striker. I'm not saying that's not a position we should be prioritising. I'm just saying it's one of a couple. Yeah, like I said, if we're getting the Toney that was at Brentford the season before he left, no complaints. I'm not going to complain. And yeah, so it'll be interesting. The only other caveat with Toney is his wages. Zerski will be on big wages at United as well, I feel. So, but we have got new owners, and apparently David Moyes has said, they'll back the team in the January, and he's admitted that impresses. So we'll have to see if they're how willing they are to back David Moyes' team. We also have the news that Everton fixture at the Hill Dickinson Stadium against Arsenal in December has been brought forward. The game will now take place on the 20th of December at 8 p.m. The game has been moved at Arsenal's request due to their participation in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday, the 23rd of December against Crystal Palace, I believe, and Palace have also had their fixtures moved as well. Next, we have Juventus are reportedly keen on signing Everton star Iliman Ndiaye, according to Italian news site Tutto Juve. Juventus have identified the Senegal international as a suitable profile to pursue. However, David Moyes has no intention of selling Ndiaye. Before I give my thoughts on that, we'll go into the next one because it's similar. Tottenham are preparing a big offer to sign Everton attacker Iliman Ndiaye in January, according to Spanish news site Vichajes. I'm going to pronounce that as Vichajes. The Senegal international has emerged as a priority target for the January transfer window, and Tottenham are considering a substantial offer for the Everton player and have already made an initial contact. It would have to be a big offer, I believe. I don't believe we're in a position where we can fully say no, but I think we're in a position where we'd have to say big offer or no. David Moyes has said it was after the game last week in his press conference. No, it was for the pre-match against Fulham. last week. He said about Iliman Ndiaye, because the journalist had mentioned, offers, rumours, and David Moyes said that he didn't want to sell him, and he's a fantastic player for the club, and we all know he is. Like I said, it'd have to be a really big offer. I don't want to sell him. I'm not going to sit here and go, maybe we should sell him, cash in, because I think he's important, and I think it's one. If we got rid of, if we sold him, then it leads to a bit of a sticky situation of who do we play on the right? Maybe Tyler Diblin, but I don't know if Diblin's ready to be our out and out right winger for the rest of the season. So we then have to go into January looking for a striker, a right back, and a right midfielder. I think if we sold him in January, it would give the Everton recruitment team and David Moyes too much to do in January. In the summer, you've got 3 months to find another right winger. Maybe we say no, and we see what happens in the summer. I just think in January, we already need a couple of players in. Let's not add to that. Obviously, if it's something stupid money, then everyone's got a price. To quote the $1 Million Man, but yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I personally would wait for the summer before I'm looking at selling any of the Everton players, because I don't think our squad's big enough to do that. Maybe there's a few you could sort of look at getting, selling in January, but a lot of them, even the players that we don't see very often, like Dwight McNeil, I wouldn't sell just in case of injuries. So yeah, it's a tough one though, because I think we were aware this was going to happen after the City game. I think it was. You went on socials, Iliman Ndiaye everywhere. People going, "Oh my gosh, look at him! What a baller!" Twitter was mad with it, and Everton fans already knew. So many people going, "We've lost him already." Fans were getting on him, which, would then the journalists know that he's an in-demand, he's an in-trend player. Then they're like, oh, well, we'll have a look around. Clubs are looking at him. Then they're like, fantastic. I'm not surprised that we're hearing the rumours. And he is very, very good, Iliman Ndiaye. He does have that top six player about him. Obviously, we just hope that he stays and we can get there with him. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens in January. But personally, I wouldn't be looking at selling till the summer. But that's all we've got time for. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your thoughts on all of this. Iliman Ndiaye, how much would you let him go for? And also let me know, Ivan Toney, are you worried about the fact that he's had, a year and a half, 2 years out at in the Saudi League? Do you think that'll affect it? Do you think he's going to walk back into the Premier League and be the same player that he was when he left it? And do you think we can afford his wages as well? Let me know all that down below. I look forward to reading it. See you guys soon.